Today we have 4 stories that are going to make your blood absolutely boil. First up, a wife whose in-laws threw her homemade cake straight in the trash and then banned her from Christmas. So she got them the pettiest gifts you have ever heard of. Then, a soon-to-be mom whose dad's girlfriend gave her a gift so creepy and invasive she nearly lost it at the dinner table. After that, a couple on a transatlantic flight gets ambushed by total strangers demanding they break up their seats. And finally, a woman whose sister did something so cruel to her dog that you'll be screaming at your screen. Trust me, you do not want to miss this last one. Let's get into it. First up, a wife who finally hit her breaking point with the in-laws from hell and decided to go out with a bang. Throwaway account for anonymity. I, 31 female, married my soon-to-be ex-husband, male, 33, in 2018. My in-laws never liked me and made it clear. SDBX insisted that they're just putting up a tough exterior and they'll grow to love me. To show how evil they are, one time I joined them for dinner and brought a cake I'd made because I was always raised to be a gracious guest. When I stepped into the kitchen and offered the cake to his mother as a thank you for inviting me, she took the plate over to the garbage bin, dumped it in, and handed me the plate back. When I told my husband what she did, he confronted her, and all of a sudden the crocodile tears started, and she claimed she grabbed the plate, but didn't get a good grip. I let go too quickly, and it fell to the floor, so of course it had to be thrown away. My sister-in-law confirmed that was what happened. My SDBX owned his own business, and they call me a gold digger behind his back. Of course they insisted on a prenup, which I didn't care about because I never thought my marriage would end and it would appease them and may allow them to finally treat me kindly. Nope. His business failed once COVID hit. We went through his savings and my own, trying to keep it afloat. I refused to go into debt to keep it going, so he closed it down. In 2022, he was suffering from really bad depression because he lost his business and couldn't find new work. He suggested we move to his hometown, closer to his family, so he had a larger support network. Against my best judgment, we did. He wanted to only work part-time while he tried to restart his business, so I became the main breadwinner. And as with most wives, I became the person in charge of buying gifts. Stupid old me thought buying them thoughtful, expensive gifts would finally make them see I wanted to be accepted by them. Gifts to us were a couple's gift, but clearly for my SDBX only. Every holiday was spent with them. Monthly dinners with the whole family. After a year, I realized that if I ever tried to talk or join a conversation, everyone would go quiet, so I just stopped talking when I visited. In early December, they finalized plans for Christmas. A few days later, my SDBX said his family decided they didn't want me to join them for Christmas Eve dinner and Christmas lunch because I ruined the family vibe. I replied, "Fine, we'll do our own thing instead." My SDBX sheepishly looked away and said he was still going to go. I was livid and so disappointed in him. That was the moment I knew my marriage was over. So I returned the presents I had bought for his family. In their place, I got 1 pair of novelty business socks for father-in-law, a supermarket brand bottle of shampoo for mother-in-law, the nastiest perfume I could find at the dollar store for sister-in-law. The most expensive gift was a large rawhide bone for brother-in-law and his wife's chihuahua, too big for it to get its jaw around, rendering it useless. I saved about $600 to put on a deposit for a new apartment. My husband come home from Christmas lunch telling me I humiliated him and embarrassed him in front of his family. I asked him why would he think I'd buy nice gifts for people who clearly don't like me and don't want me around? Served divorce papers last week. Remember how he was supposed to be a millionaire by now? So we had that prenup? SDBX is not eligible for any of my savings. It was required to keep separate accounts or alimony. He doesn't have money for rent and auto insurance. Not my problem anymore. Some of my friends and family and on my side and proud that I went out in a blaze of glory. Others are telling me I was being way too petty, which isn't really like me. So am I the asshole? Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, "You were treated horribly. Good riddance." Another commenter said, "It would have been even more awesome if the shampoo had gone to the chihuahua and the giant dog bone to the mother-in-law." Sounds like the comments are firmly on her side for this one, cheering her every petty move. But what do you think? So what do you guys think? Was this person the asshole? Drop your verdict in the comments below. Next up, an expecting mom whose dad's girlfriend gave her the single most invasive Christmas gift imaginable. I'm expecting my first child due in February. This is the first grandchild on both sides, so everyone is very excited about it. My father's girlfriend, Lena, fake name, and I have an okay relationship, but we're very different people. I don't like most of the things she likes, and vice versa. There's no bad blood between us, but she can be a bit pushy sometimes, so we're not exactly close. One of the biggest differences between me and Lena is our stance on influencer culture. She loves it, I don't. Since I got pregnant, she's been sending me posts on Instagram of random influencers talking about their experiences with childbirth, motherhood, etc. A few months ago, one of her favorite influencers gave birth and filmed the whole thing. She posted a cutesy, poorly edited video of the baby being born and her entire family watching from outside the delivery room, with country music playing in the background. Lena sent me that video, and I remember telling her I'd never do something like that. My husband and I celebrated Christmas at my cousin's place with the rest of my family. When it was time for us to exchange and open our gifts, Lena gave me an envelope. Inside was a videographer's business card. She told me she was hiring him to film my birth. I seriously cannot imagine being filmed while going through a medical procedure, and I don't want anyone besides my husband at the hospital with me. I've been clear about that since I announced my pregnancy. I didn't want to embarrass Lena, so I thanked her when she gave me the card. Yesterday, my husband and I had lunch with her and my father, and I told her that while I appreciated the gesture, I didn't feel comfortable with a videographer. I said she didn't have to get me anything else for Christmas, but I'd appreciate it if she didn't hire him. Both she and my father got offended, and we ended up having an argument. At one point, Lena started crying and said she couldn't understand why I'd pass up on the opportunity of creating such a beautiful memento of my child's birth. I replied that I found the idea of having someone film me during such a vulnerable moment to be creepy and invasive, and that this wasn't the first time I expressed I was uncomfortable with it. My father said that it was rude of me to say that and refuse the gift, and he's very disappointed in me. My husband agrees with me, as does pretty much my whole family. I don't really think I did anything wrong, but my father's reaction is freaking me out. Am I the asshole? Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, "Forget filming." Lena thought that OP would be okay with a complete stranger in the delivery room with her. I'm not even sure hospitals actually allow this kind of thing to happen. Another commenter said, "I was going to say exchange the offer. Dad gets a colonoscopy and Lena gets the exclusive video of the procedure. Both should be happy." The comments are overwhelmingly backing her up here, calling the whole gift wildly out of line. But what's your verdict? If you're enjoying these stories so far, remember to leave a like and subscribe for more. Now, a couple just trying to fly to France in peace gets cornered by some seriously entitled strangers. This happened to us while flying to France out of Raleigh. My husband and I had booked our aisle and middle seats together. While boarding, my husband got up to use the bathroom before the pre-flight announcements. As we double-checked our seat location, there was a woman already sitting in the window seat of our row with a baby. As soon as I put my purse in my seat to take off my sweater and settle in, her husband came over to sit in my husband's seat. He looked at me and said, "Oh, I need to sit next to my wife and baby." I responded, without moving out of his way, that it was my husband's seat, and he was in the bathroom. He said, "Would he mind sitting in my seat?" and proceeds to point all the way towards the back of the plane. I immediately responded, "I can speak on behalf of my husband, and that would be no..." They both looked at me with confused looks on their faces like I somehow didn't have a right to politely decline. Then they tried to get the flight attendant's attention. But as they did, that the person sitting directly behind the woman with the baby lifted herself up from her seat and said, "If you knew you were flying with a baby, you should have made sure your seats were booked together." They both looked at each other, then at the lady behind us, and blankly looked at me, while they mumbled something about trying to do just that, but couldn't for whatever reason. By then my husband was back, and hers had already walked away. My husband sat down, and I quietly told him what had just occurred, in case her husband might come back and ask him himself, or bring the flight attendant over, and he was glad I didn't let his seat go. With it being a long flight, and him having anxiety about flying, he definitely didn't want to be sent to the back of the plane alone, and I definitely didn't want to be alone sitting next to a couple with a small baby for hours across the Atlantic. But I was even more appreciative of the woman behind us who spoke up, just because. Safe travels, everyone. Were we A/H's? The issue of whether or not we came up recently when extended family members made statements about how we could have been more considerate to that family when traveling. Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, "Why didn't they offer to switch seats with someone sitting next to the husband?" Another commenter said, "Exactly this. If you're going to ask to switch, you offer the better seat, not the other way around." The comments are siding with the couple hard, saying the entitled family had it all backwards. But what do you think? If you want to hear stories from different subreddits, let me know down in the comments. And finally, the one I warned you about, a sister whose cruelty to a family dog will leave you absolutely stunned. So my sister, 32 female, Had a baby last year after years of struggling with infertility. We were all happy for her. She called him her miracle baby, and honestly, I didn't mind the attention he got until things got weird. I, 28 female, have a golden retriever named Benny. He's 5. Sweetest boy alive. Everyone in the family loves him. Even my sister used to until the baby came along. One time I brought Benny over when I visited. He stayed on his mat, didn't bark or even move. The baby started crying, and my sister, when I think he's making the baby nervous, and asked me to put him outside in the middle of winter. I said no and left early. That was strike one. Next time I saw her, she told me straight up she didn't want Benny around her son because he's a dog. I said okay, whatever, and stopped bringing him. But I could tell something shifted. Then one day, I was out of town for a weekend, and she begged me to let her stay at my place because hers was getting fumigated. I agreed, thinking it was chill. I come home Sunday night. Benny is hiding under the bed, trembling, looking all scared. I find out she locked him in the laundry room for 2 days straight because he was staring too much, and that made the baby fussy. No food or water bowl, just locked him. I lost it. Told her she was never setting foot in my house again, and that she was lucky I didn't call animal services. Fast forward a month, she's going back to work, and suddenly I'm her first choice for free childcare. Want me to watch her baby 2 days a week? I said no. She flipped and called me bitter and selfish, and said I clearly don't understand what it means to love family unconditionally. My mom got involved and said I'm being cruel when I could be helping. But this isn't just about a dog. It's about how she treated something I love without remorse, and now expects me to drop everything and help her like nothing happened. Am I the asshole for saying no to babysitting my nephew because of what she did to my dog? Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, "Don't even need to read the post. You're not obligated to babysit for anyone." ETA, holy crap. Read the post, and my initial response wasn't severe enough. Another commenter said, "This 100%. Anyone who intentionally hurts or mistreats an animal is not someone you should ever trust. It's a sign something in their head is broken and misfiring." Yeah, the comments are not having it with the sister. They're firmly on her side here. But tell me if you disagree. So what do you guys think? Was this person the asshole? Drop your verdict in the comments below. And that's a wrap on today's stories. So which one got you the most fired up? The petty Christmas gifts, the creepy birth videographer, the entitled playing couple, or that sister and poor Benny? I genuinely want to hear your verdicts. So drop an NTA or white TA on each one down in the comments, and let's argue it out. I read every single one. I got a whole pile of even crazier stories lined up for next time. So I'll see you in the next one.